What? What? Somehow they managed to bring back Ox Earth. What? I don't know. There's so many question marks I have right now. I think what my mind is sort of getting to a conclusion on is that Shaddiq is obviously probably somehow tied into Ox Earth. I think he is the central point. I almost thought as if they somehow created another faction within this whole thing, but it actually looks like it's just probably Shaddiq. And I think it's more of the idea that Ox Earth is now a part of this high council of the Assembly League, and they used Shaddiq to infiltrate the Benneret group, takes over the Benneret group, and is now trying to use that. So again, even though I thought they created a new faction, which technically was the faction at the very beginning, which technically Prospera is a part of, but now she's against that one. Again, it's like this whole thing of like, what are we doing? My initial diagram is suddenly being broken. Stop it. I want things simple that I can simply line everything together. But that's good. That's really cool to have this constant shifting in things. And so even though we do introduce the idea of Fang and all them trying to stop essentially the Bennett group from being slammed down by the Assembly League, it seems like at the same time, Prospera is just throwing gasoline on the whole situation and just letting it all burn. So it's very, very interesting. Again, I think it comes down to the idea that Shaddiq was essentially hired by the Ox Earth group, which is a part of the Assembly League now, who wants to take down the Benneret group. And I'm wondering if eventually we'll find out that it's all just basically a big revenge scheme. I think it's not really so much going to be revenge, because I don't think they care. Unless somebody is within the Ox Earth group, or at least what it used to be, that has a strong tie-in with the whole initial group within the prologue. Maybe the Doctor's still alive. Maybe Dr. Cardo is still alive. But no, super interesting. I think the beginning segment of this episode seems simple enough. I mean, it was a big deal for Miorine. Even though she finally gets to go to Earth, it's not on the terms that she wants. It's to stop people from fighting. And she goes in there with, I think, a really solid layout. I mean, I give Miorine a lot of respect, even though in the end she feels like it's her fault. And it really is sort of her fault. I mean, my initial thoughts is like, no, it's Prospera's fault. You did nothing wrong. It's because she technically, willingly accepted to do what Prospera wanted. And she should have full well known Prospera had her own plans. Prospera wasn't after trying to create peace with the Earthians. She has no reason to. Now, I do believe that she should see that, or at least believe that Prospera wanted her to gain this presidency, and if anything messed up, it's going to make it difficult for her to do that. It's kind of one of those things where I think still Prospera is probably going to try to push Miorine to that, but it is a big question mark of, was this her whole goal, was just to... How far does Prospera think ahead? It's kind of scary, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I hope this is explained, because it seems like it's a little bit too much of foresight of what's going to happen. Because again, she's been working with Miorine in order to make her president, and this is obviously going to ruin it. This is literally going to ruin it. But no, she wants to create peace, stop the protests, and their group is like, no. I mean, you guys are literally here capturing, killing, all this stuff, people of Earth, over this investigation of the purpose behind this whole incident. And yes, as we know, nothing to do with it. Yes, we do know there's an Earthian group that was involved, but now we're pretty much finding it's just Ox Earth. And the Benneret group probably fully knows that. But still, they've always been doing these proxy wars. Nothing's new here. And they're getting fed up with it. And Miorine's trying to say, work with me here. And they're like, you're not even a leader. And she's like, well, let me become leader. So they're agreeing with it. Like, it almost worked. And even this guy was like, I'm a doctor, and you brought this prosthetic out. She mentioned the fact that, we made this with people of Earthians and Spatians. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to separate everybody, because that's what they want. Spatians leave, Earthians will come back here. Miorine doesn't want that. And that pretty much hits on the guy. Like, she has it built up, but then, of course, if everything that falls apart, she completely loses it. I mean, I still think there's a chance that she can prove to them that it wasn't her fault. Like, this wasn't her plan. But I think at this point, it's all ruined. It's all ruined. Most of the stuff around the Earthian house, I mean, we have Martin working for Cecilia to paint her toenails. No, that was actually cool. I was really hoping that Cecilia was going to be doing something, like she was going to become a new faction, because they really haven't done anything with Cecilia. I hope this isn't it. Like, her only role in this entire show is to just show up and tell Martin, tell them what you're feeling, just to fix, like, she literally became a counselor. Like, in the end, she literally became a counselor. And here I thought she was just a counselor just to manipulate him in some way. Well, she got one toenail painted. But no, that whole segment is important because Martin returning back to the Earth group, and now finally Suletta comes out of her room. He's able to sort of give a phrase to her that is sort of triggering Suetta's mindset going forward. Because as he kind of claims the idea that he had to make this choice in order to protect everybody, and everybody's kind of mad, but at the same time realizing that Nika sort of betrayed them, Lily speaks up and says specifically, sometimes you only have one option, and it might not be the best. And that sort of transitions to the final scene, where finally Suletta, seeing all this chaos, and Ariel in the middle. Oh, Ariel's the same. She knew what Mom was going to do, and this was the only option for her, even if it wasn't the best way. And my theories on where this is going for Suletta is the idea that, yeah, Ariel, like I was kind of predicting in the previous episode, the only way that this can sort of turn out that Suletta would kind of become a villain character is to realize that Prospera might not be the best, might not be providing the best options for Ariel. Every time we've had before where Suletta makes a decision, she used the same phrase. Go forward, gain 2. Go back, gain 1. Well, there's only one option here. You can only choose one option. You don't given an option here. And so what I think they're sort of trying to push us into is that maybe possibly Suletta seeing that Ariel doesn't have any other options. So she's trying to do best with what she has. But it really isn't giving me a full indication that she's against what's happening. That's the only problem. It's more so the idea, and I hope this isn't the route they go because this is going to really, really frustrate me, is that Suletta is accepting that they don't have a choice. Shrug, Mom's just doing best with what she has. Ariel is just doing best with what she has. I hope that's not it. I hope that's not all they're doing here. Because again, it's going to get back to Suletta just shrugging and moving forward again. And that's what they did last time she got broken, and it's frustrating me. But there is a hint in there in the idea that possibly Suletta is seeing Prospera is forcing Ariel to do that. And she doesn't like it. So they can sort of bring up this idea that in the end, because we're all seeing where this is going, right? We're all seeing where this is going, right? This is going into Prospera becoming the villain and possibly Suletta having to stop her. Her whole development has been in the idea that she sticks underneath the wing of her mother, and eventually the story will possibly end with her finally breaking that wing and walking away. But I don't know. We'll see. We had another brief scene of Norrie in a room with Ellen and Nikke, her freaking out and Ellen stopping her, and then Nika saying what happened to her, and oh, you'll never understand. It's just basically talking about the effects of the Gundam on the pilot. Shrug once again. I really hate the scenes in this room. Every time it pops up, my eyes roll in the back of my head, and I go, oh my god, here we go again. I'm sick of those scenes. Speaking of Ellen, we finally got the reappearance of the original Ellen once again with the pill people talking about how they predict everything's going to go to hell. But now the final big juicy bit, obviously, is that the whole thing around what Gil finds out, how that connects to Shadiq, and Bell talking to Feng. Gil initially runs into that kid again back from when he was down here with the Dawn of Fold. And that kid's like, hey, take me with you. And yeah, that ends up revealing that he knows a little bit of information about a certain somebody, a prince, that went up to the academy and is super cool. Something that only the Dawn of Fold know about. And as he's pressed further, yes, he ends up revealing that the Dawn of Fold knew Shadiq's real Earthian name before he was adopted. Thus implying that this guy that's been leading the Dawn of Fold this whole time is Shadiq. And thus, Shadiq is pulling all the strings for everything that's happened this whole time. So a massive reveal for them to finally understand exactly who's working behind the scenes. That it is indeed Shadiq. And even though Gyul thinks this is enough, obviously Miorine's like, dude, chill. That's not going to work. I mean, even if we confront him, that's not going to change anything. You need proof. And that's apparently to go find Sarius. So apparently Gyul, along with the other commander guy, is going to go to Glassley House to try to find Sarius. I don't think that's going to work out. I don't think that's going to work out. It does seem like Shadiq knows that Prospera is onto them, which I think was implying the whole thing with the chamber with all the Gundams in it. So I don't know if he'll end up moving Sarius or if Gyul's going to find Sarius while Shadiq is trying to figure out this whole situation with what Prospera just did. It might turn into a distract and find something. But no, Prospera finally decides to make her move, uses the whole system to cause things to shoot at her, false flag in the whole situation. She flees because she's so unarmed, goes over, gets a weapon, and finds this chamber where Ox Earth is keeping all of its Gundams. And that's where we find out that, yes, Norie, Sophie, all of them were Gundams that were produced by Ox Earth, and at the same time, Feng reveals to Belle her theory, which is pretty much confirmed by what happens with Prospera, that Ox Earth is working under the Assembly League in the High Council and is trying to take down Bennett Group, which makes sense to what happened with the prologue. Again, the prologue, for those who don't remember, Ox Earth was the group that was producing the Gundams. And eventually when the Bennett Group was built up and Delling took over, he destroyed essentially the institute where they were producing the newest Gundam. So it makes sense that the Ox Earth, wanting to reclaim power after literally being scrutinized for doing the Gundams, having their facility destroyed, would leave the Bennett Group, because the Bennett Group doesn't want them anymore because they're making Gundams, join the Assembly, rise up in power to eventually crush the Bennett Group and probably get back to building Gundams in public, because right now they're obviously doing it in secrecy. But Prospera put an end to that by just nuking a whole bunch of theirs. Now, they could have some elsewhere. This could be just one chamber, and this just pretty much confirmed it for Prospera. But it's obvious that Prospera felt that they were the biggest threat to their goals, which is interesting because, again, she used to work for Ox Earth, and now they're a threat to what she's currently doing. And I think that's because essentially she was working for Ox Earth in Prologue. She was building this Gundam. Everything fell apart. She lost her child. Felt, okay, well, now the Bennett Group's built up. I'll take control of them, and I'll do what I need to do in order to spread it everywhere. And so currently, her plan is within the Bennett Group. She needs that strength. She doesn't care about any group. She just cares about whichever one has the most strength. And currently, it's Bennett Group. And her whole plan is with Quiet Zero. And currently, like we see with Feng, the Assembly League is trying to find out about that. So she's got to crush Ox Earth. Crush this secret group under the Assembly League. And again, I think based on the connection of Sophie and Nordier, and I think with the statement that he makes later on, Shadiq is a part of that Ox Earth group, because he's essentially destroying it from the inside out. But the only thing that kind of makes me question that is I don't think that Feng has ever mentioned Shadiq. Though again, she had theories about the High Council and the Assembly League. So it seems as if she doesn't even know if there's possibly groups in the High Council. Even though she works for the Assembly League, she doesn't know who's up there that could possibly be doing something. So anyways, super, super interesting. But through that whole conversation, eventually Feng talks Belle into showing her everything, what Prospera is working on. And it looks as if she was about to show them the thing that is involved with Quiet Zero. Says it's at this location, go there. And then as they're leaving, Prospera's buddy kills Feng. And, or at least she got shot in the back, and then you hear a couple more gunshots, so it seems like Feng's gone. But Feng's assistant and Belle seems to be saved, so we'll see if her assistant is able to do something, I don't know. But yeah, crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. Again, Ox Earth coming back, super crazy. The big cliffhanger for this episode, obviously, is the title for the next episode, which is like The End of Hope or something like that. So we're gonna see. We're gonna see what's gonna. I really do have a bad feeling about next episode. That title just does not leave me much hope. That was completely unintentional. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below, comment, let me know what you thought of the episode. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button so you got my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks button down below. Greatly appreciate what it does, and y'all take care.